Still loaded.
I get those goosebumps every time, yeah, 713 through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, rider. I get those goosebumps every time. I'm around, yeah. 'Cause I'm on, you make everything go fine. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the high, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, we can throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the mugs. Yes, sir. Good evening and welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC, where tonight we are doing another away days. Tomorrow, massive game for Newcastle United at St James's Park at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers. And when we're talking Wolverhampton Wanderers and we're talking away days, there's only one man that we can get on. So massive welcome to Dan. Dan, how are you doing, mate?
Hiya, Chris. Hiya, everyone at Loaded Mags. Always a pleasure to come on your channel. I always make time to join this channel. It's one of the most friendliest communities of football fan bases that I've come across in the toxic world of social media. So yeah, I'm glad to be here. Drop a like if you haven't already.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And you know what? On that subject, we're going to bang that up there. Thank you very much to everyone for tuning in and watching us. Make sure that you hit that like button. Let's get them in nice and early. Hit that like button, please, because it does improve the algorithms and it helps share the Loaded Mag community far and wide. So please, if you haven't already, click that like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. But Dan, how are you feeling, mate? How are you going into this game? I know obviously you've had a manager change recently. You know, what are your thoughts on Vita Pereira, and how are you feeling about tomorrow?
He's massively revitalised the club. Gary O'Neill massively outstayed his welcome with the Wolves fan base. He's similar to previous managers like Bruno Lage, Nuno to a degree. Gary O'Neill was, where they sort of were a victim of success in their first season, but the ownership didn't back them in times when they were needed to be. And in the end, it just unravelled really quickly. And similar to you guys, really, I think we're a fan base that, above all, sort of success and trophies, you just want to see a team that you can relate to and works hard for the badge. And if you get beat by a better team who are technically better than you on the day, you can stomach that. But we were going into games under Gary O'Neill where it was becoming a chore for a lot of Wolves fans to go to Wolves matches. And I think we're the only club since Wolves got promoted in, I think it's 2017 or 2018, who have season on season raised their season ticket pricing. And it's I think it's at our record highest cost now, season ticket at Wolves. It might be sort of cheaper than some other clubs, but for a city like Wolverhampton, that's not really flourishing. Has always been a bit of a deprived area. It's tough to stomach. But yeah, like I said, Vita Pereira's really revitalised the playing staff more than anything, and I think the fans have bought into the way they started to get us playing. I think it's now sort of 3 wins in 5 since he took over, with 1 defeat coming against Nottingham Forest at home a week today. So yeah, things are on the up. We're still going to be in and around the relegation battle come the end of the season, I think, but we're a lot more optimistic going into these run of games now. And like I said, just he's revitalised us to a point where I think we're able to compete in games now. It's going to be a tough game for Wolves at Newcastle tomorrow. It's always a tough place to go, St James's Park, but I still think we've got an 11 that Vitor can put out that can make us competitive on the day, and it'll all come down to the fine margins over the 90 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think both yourselves and ourselves, we've come into a good little bit of form. Obviously, you're slightly different. You know, we've not had a new manager or anything like that, but it's two teams who are performing well. I mean, I just had a little look at the league table there, and obviously 17th at the moment, Dan. So you're on 16 points. You're on level points with Ipswich, who are currently in the relegation zone in 18th. But what have you noticed since Pereira's come in comparison to O'Neill? Like, what have been the big changes for you, noticeably as a Wolves fan?
Defensively, he's got us a bit more structured. We look a bit more trying to be advancing with the ball, whereas it was a lot of sideways passing with Gary O'Neill. One of the key things that's occurred under Vitor is our back three hasn't really been the sort of stable back three that we've had over previous years. We've got sort of three defenders instead of three sort of out and out centre halves. He's asking of sort of three defenders who are all positive and want to encourage each other to be on the ball and take and actually carry the ball forward instead of just three centre halves who are just happy to get it to your wing backs and hope for the best. It's three defenders now are all really comfortable bringing the ball forward. And Emmanuel Agbadu, who made his debut at Bristol City on the weekend, is coming a bit out of nowhere really in regards to being a name that have been linked to for Wolves, but absolute unit of a centre half, comfortable on both feet. He played left centre back the weekend, and I think he'll be key to the way that we defend for the next sort of few months now, because our set piece record for conceding goals was absolutely atrocious until recently. Thanks to everyone who's welcomed me to the show. Like I said earlier, friendliest fan base on social media. I saw Lisa the Mole there to give me a welcome. It's nice to see you.
Mate. You are truly loved, Dan. Not lying. Everyone in the chat absolutely loves it, and we love having you on as well, Dan, because it's always a good conversation when we have you on.
I like to give the crack, Chris, but I ain't going to be like the sort of stereotypical opposition fan that's just going to come on here and rant and try and downplay the achievements that you guys have been on. You're on a great run. I think hopefully you'll finally get that trophy over the line in the Carabao Cup this season, and then who knows where that momentum will take you for the rest of the season.
Yeah, hopefully so, mate. I mean, going into that first leg, obviously coming away with a 2-0 win, it's huge for us. And obviously going to St James's Park now, it's just a case of not completely folding or crumbling, and just making sure that we can kind of see it through. I think if we get an early goal and obviously make it 3, I think we're almost there in the final.
That's it. I think it'll be your own downfall if you don't make it through that second leg. I don't see Arsenal scoring more than 2 goals at St James's Park in that second leg, and I think that'll be a push to score twice. So it's yours to throw away really, and then it's just obviously a 90-minute shootout with whoever you play in the final, whether it's Tottenham or Liverpool. But I think the fact that Liverpool have probably got higher objectives with the league and obviously Champions League this season, I think they won't take the Carabao Cup final as serious. And I think, like I said, it's been that long since you guys have won a trophy. I think the fact that you missed out to Man United last season or the season before, whenever it was, I think you'll finally get it over the line this time, regardless of who you play in the final.
Do you know what? I have a similar feeling actually, Dan. I don't know what it is. It just feels like there's something going our way this season. I mean, if we was to lift a trophy, that would lift the Carabao Cup to be specific. That would guarantee us the Europa League qualification for next season, which would be great. But I'm being greedy. I want the Carabao Cup and Champions League football. I mean, whether or not we'll get it, I don't know, but it just feels like a real opportunity, doesn't it? I mean, looking tonight, I know we're going slightly off topic here, Dan, but looking tonight, at that Liverpool Forest game, it's a huge match, isn't it? At 8:00 tonight, where Forest are a bit like ourselves, we're both in good form, but Forest just keep on winning, don't they? And Liverpool, for me, Liverpool haven't hit a rough patch so far. And you're almost kind of expecting one or waiting for one to come. So I don't know. Tonight just feels like there could be an upset. I mean, looking at the fixtures tonight, are there any you've got your eye on? Obviously, looking towards the bottom end of the table, or are you going to be tuning into that Liverpool Forest game?
I'll probably be having more of an eye on the Liverpool Forest game. To be honest, there's still a lot of games to play, and it's not as if I'm scouting those teams around. It's like I'm going to be able to have an impact in the Wolves dressing room. I'll be relying on Vitor to do that. Yeah, Forest, as much as it would pain me to see Forest win the league, because it would be like a sort of what could have been under Nuno if he'd stayed longer, but things under Nuno started to unravel after the pandemic occurred. Obviously, we lost Raul Jimenez to injury, and we never really recovered as a club since that moment. But the way that it's got Forest playing, we found out single-handedly last week, it was a prime Nuno away performance when they beat us 3-0 at Molineux last week. They had 3 shots on target all game and scored 3. I think they've got the average. They've got the lowest average possession over 90 minutes for in the Premier League this season. It just shows how well structured they are defensively. They've got a seriously good spine. Keeper, 2 centre halves. Chris Wood still on an absolute golden spree, isn't he? And if they maybe pick up a couple more bodies just to give them that bit more squad depth in January, I don't see why they can't push Liverpool or whoever towards all the way. But it's going to be difficult, like you said, similar to Liverpool. Chris at Forest still haven't really had a bad drop in form. They've not really had any significant injuries to their main 11 that are just sort of skirted around a moment ago. So yeah, it's all exciting. It's all still to play for at both ends of the table for me. We've got a tough run of games coming up. We've got you guys tomorrow night. I think we've got Chelsea away, Arsenal away. Sorry, Newcastle away, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Villa at home, and then we've got the FA Cup 4th round away to Blackburn. So we've got Villa at home and Blackburn away, the first 2 fixtures in February. And I think that's our season sort of momentum defining where we go from this season there. But like I said, the way that we're playing at the moment, Mateus Cunha is still in a really good run of form. If we can keep him fit, I don't see why we'll get relegated, because I still think there'll be 3 teams doing worse than Wolves come the end of the season with the players that we've got in our final third. And it's just trying to keep the goals out of our back net, which we've massively struggled under Gary O'Neill with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a few topics I want to touch on and a few players I want to touch on as well, Dan. But before I do that, over the last 48 hours, we've heard a lot of rumours, haven't we? About PSR and about clubs being in trouble. And then today it was announced that, no clubs are in trouble. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I was sitting there today in work and it was almost as if I didn't believe it. As in, it just feels like the Premier League might be protecting someone, because to me, I find it crazy that we're hearing rumors that up to 7 clubs are going to be sanctions, they're going to be in trouble, and then today it was just like a very short statement, wasn't it, just saying, oh yeah, everyone's fine, no trouble at all. Like, what are your thoughts on that? And from a Wolves perspective, were you worried at all in terms of Wolves being one of the potential clubs in trouble, or is that not the case? Do you not think that you were close to the PSR limit?
No, I don't think we were anywhere near. Our owners have pretty much stop the taps to a degree with heavy expenditure, what we were used to when we first got promoted. So I say heavy expenditure. We didn't really spend a huge amount. We just spent really shrewdly. But obviously that was helped with the George Mendes links. Obviously the first season when we got promoted, we signed Rui Patricio, João Moutinho. I think João Moutinho cost £5 million. One of the probably best paying for pound signings I've seen in a Wolves shirt. So we never spent huge. And then obviously, this summer we lost Max Kilman and Pedro Neto for close to £100 million. So we spent a little bit of that money, nowhere near enough what we would like as a fan base. But yeah, we were nowhere near. I think the whole PSR, FFP rules are a bit of a shambles, to be honest. I think you want the football pyramid to be financially protected at all times, but there has to be some sort of higher allowance for me when it comes to Premier League teams, and I feel like owners should be able to pump more money into the club than what they're being allowed to. We had it originally when our owners took over. I think if you look at the Premier League table, where it comes to sort of owners' net worth, Wolves are ranked 7th for the most richest owners. So it's unfortunate. I think it's the same situation. You yourselves know this. You want to be able to spend as much as you want. You don't want every other club to spend as much as they want if you haven't got the same resources. But that's life. There's always someone who's got more money than you. Unless you're like part of the Rothschild family, I don't say you can. There's always someone richer who's got a flashier car than you, flashier house than you, got numerous houses more than you. But I think the whole PSR things has really scuppered the other clubs being able to upset the apple cart. I think that's what upsets me the most. So I think that's it for me. I'd like Forest to win the title this season because I want to see someone new winning the title, upsetting the apple cart. I'm sick of the so-called Big Six, the Sky Big Six, all them
Yeah.
always being protected. Gary O'Neill said it a few months ago when we was having so many VAR decisions go against us that there's still an unconscious bias towards the bigger clubs when it goes to
there absolutely
VAR
is.
and stuff like that. And I don't think it's like it's something that you can hold against referees, but these things happen. I've said it before on our channel that when Man United can get given a decision or have a decision protected for them, referees, Anthony Taylor, you might get 1,000 death threats when you give a decision against Man United. When you give a decision against Wolves, you might get 100 tweets them calling you a wanker online. But that's the difference, isn't it? And that's the unconscious bias that comes in. You're going to have like an unnerved energy of giving a decision against the Man Uniteds, the Liverpools, when there's that much backlash that comes towards the direction. And yeah, I think it's a shame, really. I was all for VAR at first, but the subjectivity that comes with the module, I don't think you'll ever make it a consistently fair process. And that's where football is, I think, especially where money comes into it now with, the situation where Tamworth was scuppered of 800, close to £1 million the weekend because the Premier League don't want to have replays. But the likes of, I think, was it you guys and Tottenham who went to play in Australia after the end of season?
Yeah, it was.
That doesn't sit right with me.
No.
Football and money is just getting worse and worse. I've been eyeing up a non-league side close to where I live to go and watch on weekends where Wolves are. Obviously, we've had 2 Monday night games this season. I've been looking up going to watch one of the non-league teams close to me because I think it's football at Premier League level now is becoming so sour and taking it away from the working class. I don't know where the end comes because, sorry to keep rambling on, when they raised our season tickets at the start of the season to our record high, there were so many fans who were adamant, we're not going to renew this. It's too much. And in the end, it's like a cult, isn't it? Football. You'll find a way to pay for it. And I'm not sure where our ownership goes next season. They've said that there won't be an increase at the end of next season, but you can't trust our owner's word from next day to the next. And I think it's £13 to watch the non-league side on a Saturday. You can drink in the stands there.
Oh, mate. I went to by us, and you'll recognise this team because they played Tottenham in the FA Cup not that long ago.
Marine.
Right by me, there's Marine, and I went to watch Marine, and funnily enough, mate, that was my takeaway. It goes in, pays a tenner on the door to get in there, and I see loads of fellas just all stood around the corner having a ciggy and a beer, and I was like, what? And then so we were all in there. It was me and 4 or 5 other lads, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant. There was no prima donnas. It was just a good game of football, and really, really enjoyed it, mate. And you know what? It was really nice. And I thought to myself, this is what football should be about, shouldn't it? £10 on the door, go and enjoy yourself, have a little laugh with the lads, watch a bit of football, and then straight off the pub. But now it's like owners and directors and everything. It's all getting priced out, isn't it? It's getting ridiculous. I forget which club it was. There was a club the other day. And they were saying, the tickets have gone up to £130 or something. And then once you take, the kids to the club shop, or if you're out with the lads, you go for a few beers, you're talking £200 a go. And it's just not, it's not good for the fans, is it? It's really not. And when you look at the likes of
Germany, the next generation,
it is. It's got to come to a point where no one can afford to go.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a cult. We paid our highest amount. I think the highest match day ticket now at Wolves for the Category A matches is, I think it's £71, which is still a lot of money when you take into account, like you said, if you're a family of 4, two adults, two kids, it massively adds up. And there was we talked about how football's become unsavoury. There was some comments that came out of the club, whether it was via rumours, that our chairman was physically and verbally annoyed at the uptake of people who renewed their season tickets because he wants more match day only ticket prices that are available.
Velocity,
It's
don't you?
like
Yeah,
it's disgusting. Like we've been called legacy fans from our owner in previous years, and it's like I said, you're pricing out the next generation. You're making it unwelcome for the fans that will be there from the start to the finish. You know, long after every footballer, chairman has come and gone, the fans will be there till the end of the day, and it's getting really unsavoury how football's been. Football's pricing out the average working class fan, and it's like I say, it's a cult that people will find ways to pay, but there has to be a point as a football community that we say enough's enough.
yeah. Totally agree, mate. Absolutely agree. Pete, look, welcome, mate. Lovely to have you on this evening. Me and Dan are putting the football world to rights. We're talking about, you know, fans like ourselves being priced out of football and how the prices are getting silly. And Dan mentioned that, you know, he's been going to see his local non-league teams, and I mentioned that I'd gone to go and see Marine a few weeks back, and you know, really enjoyed it. Tenner in, you can drink, you can smoke on the in the stadium. Brilliant, mate. Absolutely brilliant. But Pete, what are your thoughts, mate? You know, in terms of like football and the way it's going. You know, just in terms of like the cost and you know prices. You know, even to take your kids and stuff. Do you think it's getting out of hand?
Yeah, it's honestly, lads, it's been getting out of hand for years, absolutely years. And you know what's crazy is the difference between the prices of the Premier League to any other league. It's absolutely astronomical. It's absolutely ridiculous. For me, it stopped. I'll be honest with you, it stopped me being able to go to as many games as I'd want to. You know, obviously with us, me, yourself, Chris, Daz as well. You know, supporting Newcastle but not living in the city. It doesn't mean that we don't support Newcastle as much as everybody else that lives in the city, but it makes it harder for us to go. And when you're raising prices of tickets, it makes it even harder. You know, I would have loved to have gone to so many more games this season. You know, for example, I had a ticket for Bromley at the weekend. Me and my daughter, it was my daughter's Christmas present. I had a ticket for us to come up to the Bromley game, and it was a reasonably priced game. It wasn't too bad compared to Premier League. Still expensive, and in the end, I had to kind of sort of knock it on the head because of pricing of travel, of everything, of the day, and the cost that it all involves. It becomes too much, and for me as a fan, it's really kind of upsetting and disappointing that I have to think about those type of things. Is that I can't just go, you know what, I've got a ticket for the game, I can't wait, I want to go. I have to think about all of these other elements of it as well. It's really difficult for me.
Someone put a screenshot on Twitter earlier on today that you could get a flight to Milan and a match ticket for cheaper than what a Wolves ticket is. And that says it all. That's like Pete mentioned there. The way the Premier League is so extortionately more expensive to other top leagues in Europe. It's like I said, when is enough? Because I said football's a cult, and we'll all find ways to keep paying. But sometime in the near future, that there has to be a time where we say enough is enough.
Yeah. No, absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Right. Well,
go on, Pete.
I was going to say, if I'm driving to Newcastle, like it's probably half the price that it would be if I was to go and get the train. Like that's before I'm even thinking about my ticket. That's before I even think about eating or having a drink. Like it's absolutely it's crazy. Like, and you know what's sad about it is that you go back 15, 20 years, the price of one day of going to watch football used to be the difference between what I would pay to go on holiday, like a week holiday somewhere in the sun, right? Before my kind of like payments for food and stuff like that when you're over there. That would be one day now is the same price as what you would used to pay 15, 20 years ago to go on holiday, which I just think that's just where the world's gone now. It's just absolutely gone mad. And the sad thing about it is, lads, is that I don't see where it's going to stop.
No.
I don't see where it's going to stop.
No.
Like, look, Dan, I see you sometimes in the chat, and we like you'll be putting stuff in about football tickets and prices, and not just that PSR and all the rest of it, and how ridiculous it is. But with this PSR situation, this situation was meant to be brought in to make football better. It was meant to be to help not Premier League clubs as such, but lower clubs be able to sustain themselves. How is this helping sustain themselves? It's made it worse. The only ones it is benefiting is the elite ownerships getting more money out of the club's fans. It's ridiculous, and I don't see where it's going to stop, boys. I think it's going to get more expensive. Year upon year, and I don't know what the pressure point's going to be. I really don't, because we love the game so much. We all do, and it's our drug. Every weekend, we want to go to these games. We want to experience these moments. Win, lose, or draw, you're back there the next week. It's why we love football so much, and they're exploiting the fact that we do that. So it's not like we're going to turn around and go, yeah, we're not going anymore. We're not going to do that to our own club. And so I don't know what the pressure points are, lads. I'd love for you to tell me what they might well be in your opinions, but I don't know where that pressure point is.
Yeah. That's where we are, isn't it? We had a game at Tottenham just after Christmas, and obviously with it being the sort of the Korean derby between Heung-min Son and Hwang Hee-chan at Wolves. Tottenham have got like a sort of a lower tier section where like a lot of the Son supporters are like regularly congregating. But when Hwang put us in front, they celebrated that goal. And it's just like that's where the owners want. They want the day trippers coming in, spending £100 in the club shop, £100 on the ticket, £20 on food. It all adds up. But like I said earlier, these like legacy fans that our owners call us, and we're going to end up being priced out in the end. And you can see why a lot of people now are getting fire sticks, because it's that easy to watch that games on that for so cheap compared to what Sky are offering as a basic package. And then you got TNT Sports on top. It's like I said, it's you look at how like other countries, like I saw someone mentioned just that Bayern Munich have got a season ticket for £450, and I think Fulham's most expensive ticket is for £3,100. It's like I know Fulham's a well nourished area within England, but paying that sort of money, and for me, the way I gather it is the people who can afford to pay £3,100 for a Fulham season ticket aren't even going to be going every week. They're going to be picking and choosing what games to go to, and it's just like their la-di-da day out with their Sebastian and all Urquhart and all those. That's the vibe. Sebastian and Tobias and all those sort of fellows. That's what it is. And I think it's only going to get worse. You saw with the World Cup recently being in Qatar, and I think it's being lined up for like Saudi in a few years. It's who's willing to pay the most money at the end of the day, and it shouldn't be that situation. When's a country like, how do I even sort of to pick a random country? And I like the Euros a while back was in like Holland and Belgium, and I think it was like Poland and Ukraine. Obviously, Ukraine aren't holding a tournament anytime soon, but just at that sort of scale of a country, when are they going to be able to host a tournament again? And when's the Antarctic going to host a World Cup? It's about time the Antarctic hosts. We need to make it fair. All the tournaments that we've had over the years, when it's been in like Brazil and like 40 degrees, and we need to make it fair for other continents and other countries. When's Australia going to host a World Cup?
Yeah, take it to Iceland. Take it up to Iceland. Why not? Hey, why not? You see the Northern Lights while playing football. That's a selling point.
The amount of money that FIFA are earning year on year, they should be able to help countries like that build an infrastructure to host a World Cup. But it's all about who's bringing in the most money for FIFA instead of helping out on the planet.
Of course. No, I fully agree with you, mate. I thought
I was going to come here tonight to tease you about Ruben Neves not playing for Newcastle, and we've gone off a completely different tangent about world football economics.
This is what we do.
We're combining, aren't we? We're combining.
I wanted to talk about Ketspire, Cole Core, Pavel Cernicek, Mike Williamson, and we're talking about Gianni Infantino. What a night.
Do you know what, Dan? You're right though, mate. You're right. I mean, do you know what? We will divert it back to, obviously from a Newcastle and Wolves perspective. But you know, it would be rude, Dan, not to talk about the January transfer window as we are currently sitting in it, as we live and breathe. Now things are a little bit quiet from a Newcastle perspective. Have you heard anything from a Wolves perspective?
It's a silly season, isn't it, for transfer rumours? I mentioned earlier on in the show that we managed to get Emmanuel Agbadou through the door, which looks a bit of a shrewd signing.
Yeah.
You do the standard, don't you, as a fan? You go straight to your YouTube compilations and watch everything available, everything that's on Twitter. You see the comments that the home supporters leave on their social media pages when that player leaves, and it's all positive. And it was against Bristol City. He made his debut on the weekend and he looked massively assured. But, you know, there's still a massive gulf between the Premier League and the Championship now. We found out last season when we beat West Bromwich Albion comfortably. They were probably the better team over the 90 minutes, but we had two players in Pedro Neto and Mateus Cunha, just that head and shoulders better than anything West Brom had. And I think it's similar to the season before when you steamrolled Sunderland at their place. There's that big of a gap between the Premiership and the Championship now that it's hard for those to compete. But I've not really seen anything concrete in regards to imminent signings. We've been linked to a few Brazilian midfielders, Gerson and Richard Rios from, I think it was Palmeiras and Flamengo. But nothing strong. So you know yourselves, you're linked to every player under the sun, from just random Twitter accounts and what looked like prominent responsible accounts. Like, I think there's Ekram Kona, who's on Twitter. I think he's got like 50,000 followers, and he links every player, but he knows absolutely sweet FA.
Yeah.
I've
He
said
hates him. He hates him.
I've said it to these boys before. Like when like we first started doing this 3-4 years ago, and it was kind of like transfer window. I think it was our first transfer window, actually, really, the takeover after the takeover. So 2021 January. And that's where I really started to see him. And all he really does is just repeat what other journalists have said. That's it. Like none of his information is actually his.
I actually get disappointed when he links us to a player because I know it's not true. And Fabrizio Romano's the same to a degree, Pete. He's a regurgitator a lot of the time now, but people just hold him as, like, you know, the benchmark for transfer rumours. But it's...
He at least gets his exclusives, though. Like him and Ornstein. Like, I was thinking about this today because, like, I actually think last summer, just gone, David Ornstein was the guy, the go-to guy, and everyone was kind of like questioning Romano a little bit. And I actually think he's really hit back in this window. He must have took that personally, because he seems to be breaking a lot of the news, and now Ornstein seems to be the one in this window that's kind of almost second to Fabrizio Romano. So, for example, he got the "Here We Go" today for Kvaratskhelia at PSG. And normally that would be an Ornstein bomb. So they're always kind of out in each other. But the difference is that they have links. They've clearly both got links to agents of players. And so therefore their information is more kosher than anything else. Now, some of these other guys, they're just kind of just latching on, and all they do is just change their tweet, the wording of their tweet, to make it sound like it's their own personal one. And look, we have the Fully Transfer Show, so we know, and we have to sift through some of the rubbish at times to try and get anything relatable.
That's the name of the game now when it comes to social media. We reluctantly had to start posting sort of transfer rumors on our social media pounds, because that's what people want to read. But you know yourself, 9 times out of 10, whether there's any substance to a transfer. And when you see websites like 90min.com and Give Me Sport, 99% of the time it's just article pieces that people are linking players to clubs based on, Wolves need a striker, so they must be after Michy Batshuayi. We'll just throw it out there. That's the sort of vibe you get, isn't it? And it's a shame, but whatever keeps Fabrizio in his job, so be it.
Absolutely.
Talking. Sorry, Pete. Go on, mate.
No, go for it, man. Go for it. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I know we haven't got you for that much longer, Dan. But before we go to the tactics balls, I wanted to. Maybe you won't like me asking this. I wanted to. We've talked about incomings or potential incomings, but what about outgoings? because I must admit, mate, I was admiring from afar. I watched the Wolves Man United game, and Mateus Cunha really, really impressed me. Now, Mateus Cunha's been playing really well. Obviously, we can't do a load of Mag days with you without talking about Ait Nouri. And also, I suppose, one that's really stood out to me, and one that we were discussing the other day, weren't we, Pete, saying that we were a little bit concerned over him, Strand Larsen, who's really, really come to the forefront for. Oh yeah, that's it, of course.
I love him. I'm not saying that we want to sign him. I'm just saying I admire him.
You'll just DM me without saying hello. How are you? You'll just say Wolves. I've heard Newcastle signing Strand Larsen. What do you know about it?
That one time, I'm never going to live that down ever. I imagine.
No, I think it was because the fact it was Neves as well. Out of all the players, honestly, there's still a good chance they may end up coming back to the Premier League at some point. But seeing Neves play for another Premier League team would massively hurt, because he's literally up there with the likes of Steve Bull and the like, for how much he's adored by our fan base. Ryan Ait-Nouri is always going to be linked with a move away from Wolves, because for me, he should be playing at least minimum Europa Conference League. He's got that much ability in the right system, whether it's a wing back or a left back in a 4. I think he's still got a lot of ceiling still to reach. He's got that much quality. Mateus Cunha has been linked to moves to Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United. I think he would be an absolute great addition to any of those teams that I've just mentioned. Especially, I was thinking about him for you guys earlier, but I think that was sort of. I think Anthony Gordon does his best work off the left, so I'm not sure whether Mateus Cunha would fit in your system. I don't think he's either him or Gordon and the best off the right. And Mateus Cunha is not like your natural number 9 who's going to hold up the ball and do all that sort of work. His best work's coming from sort of close into your half when we turn over possession and whatnot. And another player who's been linked with moves to Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool is João Gomes in our centre midfield. Yeah, I mentioned him I think I've mentioned last couple of times on your show. He's like his relentlessness to win the ball back is it's a trait similar to like N'Golo Kante when he was at Leicester and Chelsea, but I think he's a bit better with the ball than N'Golo Kante, and he's still relatively young as well. And we signed also Andre in the summer, who's another Brazilian. He's been brilliant, Pete. But just Gary O'Neill just didn't get the best out of him. Gary O'Neill, he won. I think it was either he won the September Player of the Wolves Player of the Month, and then Gary O'Neill dropped in the next game. It's just like that's just how just completely.
Dan, just because there's been times this season where I've saw him on the bench and I was thinking, like, surely he's too good to be playing.
Yeah, I think it was a signing that we didn't necessarily need as a club, but the opportunity came. I'm not sure how no other club decided to jump on it at the time, but the opportunity came. There's definitely a player there. I think we signed him for around 20 million, maybe. If so, saying it's nothing in today's market with football, and if Wolves are able to stay up and he has another good season next season, you're doubling your money on that signing, and similar to what João Gomes will go for maybe this summer or the summer after, because of the ability that they've both got, and they've completely just bossed Mario Lemina out of our midfield. He's got no route back into the side for me, because that midfield pivot of João Gomes and Andre are up there. There should be a top half Premier League midfield pairing for me.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree, fella.
Well, it kind of feels like we've segued nicely to the tactics ball, but before we do that, I just want to give a big shout out to our sponsors. Tune that in it. Look at that. Damn loving the tunes there. Oh, mate.
Get 2 more tequilas over here, fella.
Unrivaled, absolutely unrivaled. But yeah, that is Russ from the Radiator Shed. He provided us with that lovely video and that fantastic music. But yeah, if you're looking to replace your radiators or get brand new radiators, Russ is the man to contact. He can be contacted at russ@theradiatorshed.com. Telephone number 077 666 04112. And that is Russ from the Radiator Shed, the main man. We've had a few. I don't know whether you joined at that point, Pete, but we've had a few questions about becoming a member. Obviously, last night we gave away 4 prizes, 4 £25 prizes. So everyone watch last night's show if you haven't already watched it, because you might have been the winner. So make sure you tune into that. But yeah, if you want to become a member, all you have to do is just click that blue join button. I'm led to believe that you cannot do it on a mobile phone. It has to be done on a laptop, a tablet, a PC, etc., etc. So please do get involved. And also, I want to mention this because it came in the chat and it was really, really nice seeing it. Antunami come up and said she's buzzing. She's received her loaded mag glass lid and straw today, and it's great. It's well worth the price. I definitely recommend it, and thank you. I bought it with my birthday money as a reminder, as a great reminder, sorry, should I say. So I'm really, really pleased to hear that. It's really, really nice. And don't forget, everybody, as Anne has reminded us of, oh, sorry, Pete, have you got the... There, sorry. Oh, where's that gone? Oh, the tab's changed on me, and I can't get it back. I was looking for the. Oh, thanks, mate. Nice one. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up. There it is. The online store. The online store is available. So anybody, who is interested, get yourself onto our online store. Be like Anne, get yourself some loaded mag merchandise. All available on there. It doesn't say there's 20% off, but trust me, there is currently 20% off. So as I say, get yourself on there. There's lots to choose from. A few little items there. So yeah, get yourself on there and treat yourself. Oh, there you go. There's a 20% poster. There we go. Brilliant. Well,
And
Pete,
if there's any Wolves fans watching tonight, you can get our merchandise at wolvesfancast.tmail.com.
There we go.
There you go. Love that.
This is the merch section. This is the merch section of the show. I love it.
Absolutely. Right, before we go to some questions, Pete, let's get the tactics board up. Let's have a look at these lineups.
Yes, mate. So, as always, Dan, you know the score. We've been here before. We'll look at, and I just need to get our teams up and running. So just bear with me a second. But we're going to look at the starting lineups. So ultimately, you'll pick your starting lineup, Dan, and we'll do ours, and we'll see how they match up on match day and see how they kind of fit together. But just whilst we're doing that, and I'm loading that up, you've got Cunha back from suspension. Are there any other players in or out of the game tomorrow from what you're hearing?
Mateus Cunha was obviously the key one that everyone was curious about. Nelson Semedo has been declared viable by Vita Pereira in his pre-match press conference today, which is another solid addition after missing him from the Nottingham Forest game and the Bristol City game. So he'll be key. He may come back into the squad. It'd be interesting to see where Vita goes with his squad, because we absolutely I would say obliterated. You can't say obliterated when you won a game 2-1 against a Championship side, but there was times during the game on Saturday where we absolutely played with Bristol City, and if it had finished sort of 7 or 8-1 on the day, it wouldn't have been flattering. We played with them, and Rodrigo Gomez, who's one of our recent signings in the summer, he had an absolute stormer on Saturday, and it'll be interesting to see whether he starts tomorrow night, because Nelson Semedo is predominantly our natural right wing back, but he played that well on Saturday. It'd be interesting to see if he starts again tomorrow.
Okay, so a few players back. We had our sort of update with regards to Newcastle United. Unfortunately, Harvey Barnes is going to be out for around a month, 3 weeks to a month maybe, with a strained thigh. But more positive news. The likes of Isak, Botman, and Murphy are likely to make a return and start on Wednesday, tomorrow night. So, look, from your perspective, I've got your squad here. I've just removed Totti because is Totti not part of your squad? Has he moved on?
No, he's unavailable. I think
injured.
he's been suffering with a hamstring injury for a while. They reckon he's going to be early February before he's even back in training. So he'll be a miss tomorrow. But you can see him there on the bottom of the screen, number 12, Emmanuel Agbadou. He'll be our left centre back tomorrow.
Okay. Talk us through your lineup then. Starting from goalkeeper, working all the way through to your strikers. How are you setting up, mate?
Yeah, it's been a situation, the goalkeeper position this season, where it's been a bit hit and miss. I don't think Gary O'Neill really knew who his best number one was. But since Vita Pereira's come in charge, Jose Sar's sealed that position, and be interested to see if Sam Johnston makes a move this month, because the reason he left Crystal Palace was because he wanted to have more game time. So we'll see where that one goes. He's been a lot more solid, Jose Sara, since Vita Pereira's come. Under Gary O'Neill, he was asked to be a lot more of a quarterback, trying to spray passes, and that's naturally not his game. I think in the game at Molyneux against you guys, I think Anthony Gordon nearly caught Sam Johnston dilly-dallying with the ball a couple of times, and hopefully Jose doesn't get into that sort of rhythm like he did previously.
Okay. Back four, back three?
No, I think he'll be like sort of your stereotypical Wolves sort of back three, back five with wing backs. So I think your three centre halves will be Matt Doherty at right centre half, okay. Santi Bueno as your centre half sweeper with Emmanuel Agbadou came from Brantford Molyneux.
We've got some through already. I love it.
Wing backs will either be, we'll start with left wing back, because that's obviously another pretty solid choice. Ryan Aït-Nouri, number 3. And the right wing back position tomorrow will either be Nelson Semedo or Rodrigo Gomez. I think because of the just the force that you have in your final third, I think I'll go with the more safer choice. So I think Nelson Semedo will be the right wing back tomorrow.
Okay, I've got Gomez in the squad further up, I think.
Yeah, so you got Andre and João Gomez will be the midfield pivot there, 7 and 8.
Okay. Yeah.
And then your front three from left to right, number 10, Matheus Cunha, number 9, Jorgen Strand Larsen, and on the right wing, number 29, Gonçalo Guedes.
On the right, Guedes.
Yeah, Strand Larsen in the middle, and Cunha being given a free role, but probably from a defensive point of view, will be on the left. That's our best our lineup, in my opinion, at the moment. If everyone's fit and in form, because the defensive area in this January window is the area we've got to improve the most. But Matt Doherty made his Wolves debut 14 years ago last week, and is an absolute stalwart for the club. Everyone knows him as the sort of marauding right wing back, but since Vita Pereira's come in, he's been really solid in that right centre half. And I mentioned to Chris Starr at the show that we've got 3 defenders there who are all really comfortable with the ball and are able to actually carry that ball from 18-yard box into your half if the lanes open up. So yeah, I think that's where we go tomorrow night. And like I said, I just wanted a Wolves team that going to be competitive, and I think it's you guys are a clear favourites at home tomorrow. I think there's an 11 there that could get a result.
Yeah. So just before we come on to Newcastle's lineup, like what is it that what's your style of play? Like so do you play down a particular side? Is it sort of counter attack? Is it possession based? Like, just for people obviously watching that may not have seen too much of Wolves this season, like what is your style, particularly with your new manager coming in?
I don't think with the stereotypical Wolves side that you've seen over the years, especially under the Nuno period, where we're sort of quite rigid defensively, but we had the pace to counter attack quite heavily with the likes of sort of Diogo Jota, Pedro Neto, Adama Traore. We're a lot more better with the ball with this lineup here, and like I mentioned, our 3 centre halves are able to carry the ball. We've got 2 really exciting wing backs when they're able to go forward, but obviously the key man will be Matheus Cunha. If you can get him into pockets behind Bruno Guimaraes and whoever's playing centre midfield of him tomorrow, that's the areas where we'll likely be most dangerous. And Gonzalo Guedes still seems to be a player that's going under the radar. I haven't really given him the credit that I won't say he's deserved it. Since Vita Pereira's come in, he's looked a completely different player. Previously, he never looked like he wanted to be at the club, and his performance has shown that. But he's another player that's in an exciting bit of form at the moment. I think he's one of those players that needs to be playing week in, week out, knows that his coach has the confidence in him when he might not be having the best game to still create moments, and maybe having that Portuguese head coach is what Gonzalo needed.
Okay. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of pans out, Chris. But
definitely.
Looking from a Newcastle perspective, we've got players coming back in or certainly declaring themselves fit. Do you see many changes, Chris? How are you setting up Newcastle tomorrow night?
Do you know what, mate? This is one of the more settled lineups I've done for a long time. Where like I'm kind of looking at it and thinking, yeah, it's a no-brainer to me. Obviously, bar any last-minute injuries that we're not aware of. But for me, I think it'll be Martin Dubravka in goal.
Okay.
Left back will be Lewis Hall. Dan, you've got to have a watch of Lewis Hall tomorrow, mate. Honestly, he looks absolute mustard at the minute.
Chris, he's been in my fancy team for about a month, mate. I know what Lewis Hall's capable of. He's probably been unlucky not to get the minutes that he deserved. But obviously, you're pretty solid. I think Dan Burn did a good job at left back when he was called upon him previously. Livramento can do both jobs. I think obviously the demise of Kieran Trippier has probably initiated this run of games for Lewis Hall, and that right side. That's why I said earlier. I think the attacking flair that you guys have got, especially like the pace and the relentlessness on that left side with Lewis Hall and Anthony Gordon. I think that's why Nelson Semedo will get given the nod tomorrow, because I think he's just a lot better defensively than what Rodrigo Gomez is.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. Funnily enough, last time we spoke, actually, Dan, I remember you were waxing lyrical over Mosquera, the centre back, and I put him in my fantasy. And then literally, I'm sure it was the week later, he was out for the season. I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, that was a big blow. It was like another sort of reason why I mentioned just about Andre wasn't necessarily the signing that we needed. I think João Gomez and Mario Lemina were doing quite well as the midfield pairing up until that point. But obviously, the opportunity came to sign Andre when a centre off was massively needed. Mosquera came back from on loan from Villarreal. So he was sort of replacing Max Kilman to a degree, but we still needed another centre off on top of Mosquera coming back. So to let that happen, and then Mosquera does his ACL. It's been such a poor recruitment period by Wolves, and hopefully we're on the back of that now, and we can maybe bring in some more steady players this window.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. Well, in terms of the rest, Pete, I think
decisions though, Chris.
Well,
we've got 3 or 4 centre backs now that are readily available. So
no, true.
You got Shaw, Burn, Botman. They're probably the 3 you'll go for or consider. Who you go for is the partnership, mate. Because we talked about it the other day, didn't we, about Larson, big physical striker, good in and behind. Who are you putting in there to try and stop him?
Well, for that very reason, Pete, I'm averting not to the Bromley centre backs, but to the lineup in the previous game. So for me, it's a no-brainer up against Strand Larsen. It's got to be Dan Burn left centre back, and it's got to be Sven Botman right centre back. For me, it has to be because two big lads, physical, and will no doubt be able to kind of give Strand Larsen a bit of a run for his money. In terms of right back, Pete, I'm going to go Tino Livramento.
Yeah,
I actually think he's cemented himself now as first choice right back. I know he was struggling a little bit against Kieran Trippier, but now he seems to be the favoured, first choice right back, and rightly so, in my opinion. The midfield, so in the number 6 position will be Sandro Tonali. Ole, ole, ole. Left centre midfield will be Joe Linton. It's going to be a hell of a battle in the middle of that park, boys. Hell of a battle.
Some serious Samba on display tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then right side of midfield will be Bruno Guimaraes.
Yes.
So left wing will be Anthony Gordon.
AG.
Right wing will be Jacob Murphy.
Yeah.
And I think
Murphinho, another Brazilian in there, Murphinho.
Absolutely. And
Can
I think,
Isak be injured, guys?
mate, no.
Okay.
I've
I asked.
purposely saved the best
If you
for
don't
last.
ask, you don't get.
Mate, well, Eddie Howe's been very coy over him, but we're now starting to understand the Eddie language. Eddie Howe has said he looks okay, but we'll do a little check on him. I see Alexander Isak starting this game. He wasn't missed against Bromley at the weekend in the cup. He felt something after the previous game, but he wasn't missed against Bromley, and I think he's ready tomorrow. I'd be shocked if he wasn't, put it that way, Dan.
I think he'll have, maybe if he's even aware of it. I think if I'm Alexander Isak, I've got my eye on that Jamie Vardy consecutive game record. I think he's 4
Was
games
that
away
12?
from it.
Yeah.
I think he was 11, wasn't it, Vardy?
11. Yeah.
Yeah. So
11
it's within sight. He's definitely got the capabilities, as I mentioned earlier. I've got him in my fantasy team. I think you're bonkers if you haven't got Alexander Isak in your fantasy team at the moment. That's the key thing for me tomorrow. I think Anthony Gordon's definitely an absolute dynamite player who can tear you to pieces. But I think if we can try and keep Isak Marshall as much as we can, I think we give ourselves a fighting chance. And I was praising Agbadu for how well he played against Bristol City, but I've completely chucked that out the window now. We'll see how good he is when he comes up against Isak tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a couple of points on that. Is there anyone you're worried about Isak coming up against, sort of in that back three? Obviously, you've mentioned Agbadu is a new signing. Obviously, you want to have a look at him against a Premier League sort of striker, but what are you worried about most with Alexander Isak potentially when he starts tomorrow night?
I think it is pacing behind. I think we've got 3 really highly capable defenders there aerially. I remember him scoring a header against us about a couple of seasons ago. So that's always a danger, but I think it's his pacing behind. I don't think either the 3 centre halves that we've got overly pacey. I think Agbadu will have like his long leg strides, so I think I'll give him a fighting chance if there's passes into the channels for Isak to run into. But I just think you've got that many attacking players that can make anything out of nothing. I mean, even Jacob Murphy is going to be a trouble on that right hand side. I think he's really played himself into a bit of form recently. I was glad that Harvey Barnes was unavailable after his goal he scored at Molly earlier on in the season. The fact that he scored against us in recent years, whether it's for you guys or for Leicester. So that's a bonus tomorrow. But you look at your 11, I think there isn't really a player that I'd say, right, we need to target this area of the pitch, because I think you're just solid throughout. I think that's the you guys winning the Carabao Cup is the thing that kicks you on to your next stage. I think it's a mental thing. It was a bit like when Chelsea took over with Mourinho. I think when they won that one Carabao Cup, I think that was the thing that really spurred them on to go to the next level. I think you need that sort of trophy in your cabinet to draw in that next caliber of player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there was just one other thing before we sort of move on, is that I'm looking at that lineup there, that midfield lineup, and I'm looking at João Gomez and Andre in there, but I'm looking at the fact that we have 3 midfielders in there. Are you worried that we may well overpower you in the middle of the park? Are you expecting it? Will Wolves do anything, in your opinion, to kind of combat that? Because obviously the numerical situation may well become a problem.
Obviously, it's a worry when you put it down on paper like that. But I think one of the things that Vitor's changed tactically is that our 2 centre halves there, Doherty and Agbadu, won't have they won't be reluctant to go and press that extra third midfielder if it needs to be done. Obviously, that frees up space for Murphy, Isak and Gordon to get in behind if that turnover happens and the lane becomes a bit more open. But I think that's where we're a lot more structured. I don't think Gary O'Neill really had any sort of tactical nous in the end. That's how quickly it unravelled under him. I think last season, I think a lot of our big wins was down to sort of individual brilliance, whether it's from Cunha or Pedro Neto with his counter-attacking pace, where I think we're just a lot more structured. I think the players have come out with a lot more comments since Gary O'Neill's left in regards to that. They all know the roles a lot more better than what they did previously, and it's going to be a tough game tomorrow. That midfield three is going to be trouble with the physicality and the relentlessness from Tonali and Guimaraes is going to be a battle. But I've said it's a lot of Samba on display tomorrow, and I think similar to when we've had it in the past, whether it's like Brazil or Portuguese speaking players. Obviously, we've still got a lot of Portuguese, Brazilian players in our team. I think when they come up against other squads similar to Man United with your Dallos and your Bruno Fernandes and whoever, I think they do tend to raise the game when there's a bit of Brazilian camaraderie, that vibe to the bragging rights.
Definitely. Last thing from me, sorry for all the questions, but are you expecting Wolves to be very much counter-attacking, sitting in, and then trying to catch us on the break, or do you think you're going to come at us and try and press high and sort of take the game to us? How do you see it?
I don't think it'll be, like I said, the stereotypical Wolves where we are fully set up to sit in and then just counter-attack. I think one of the things that I've noticed under Pereira is that we do seem to be a lot more clinically assured when we do press as a team, whereas under Gary, it was just no one knew when to press and you get broken through too easy that way. But no, I don't think it'll be a situation where I'm not sure how the Bromley game played out. I don't know if they literally just put everyone behind the ball and hoped for the best on the counter-attack and set pieces. We're not going to be, in my eyes, well, hopefully not that sort of rigid and having sort of 8 men behind the ball and just hoping our front three can just magic something out on the counter-attack, which we did under Gary.
Chris, anything from a Newcastle perspective? Anything you're expecting from a Newcastle point of view tomorrow night?
I think the only thing I was interested to hear Dan's response, in terms of the midfield, outnumbering, if you like. And I did think it would either be Agbadu and Doherty pushing up, or what I was going to ask was, do we ever see Semedo and Aït-Nouri tuck in? Will they tuck in if need be, just to kind of protect the defence a little bit? Do we ever see that, or do they literally just stay on the byline waiting for the ball in order to, go up the wing as quickly as possible?
Yeah, I think that's going to be an option. I think I mentioned earlier, it's sort of like a back three, a back five with wing backs. I think defensively, when we're out of possession, it'll fall into quite a rigid back five. But what I like about what Vitor Pereira's done is, obviously, Matt Doherty at right centre back is really outperforming himself at the moment. Gary O'Neill was playing Nelson Semedo as the right centre half before he was sacked, but I think Nelson Semedo's a lot more better, and I think their relationship they both know that right wing position like the back of their hand. So I think they're quite competent in when one needs to be falling into the back four, whether it's Semedo falling into the right centre half position or whether Doherty presses Joe Linton and Gordon. It's going to be interesting. So we're still a work in progress under Vitor Pereira. I think this is like his 6th game in charge. So they're still learning. But from the bits that I've seen so far and the way that we've been defensively and when we've gone for the press as a team, we just look a lot more assured in what we're doing. And I think tomorrow's going to should be a good game for the neutral, I think, because I think both teams are likely going to score tomorrow. I think it'll be quite at least over 2.5 goals tomorrow.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. Questions before we get predictions?
Questions just before I'm Dan. I've got 2 very, very quick questions, mate, because I know I'm conscious of time, mate. But just before we do go to the questions, Lisa's saying thanks, Sam, for the gifted memberships, and I have to bring this up because I'm Toonami. Again, thank you so much. Anna's gifted not 1 but 2 Newcastle United, NUFC, load of mag NUFC memberships. Couldn't get my words out then. So massive thank you to Anne for that. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate the support.
When Nebula signs, I'm going to have one of them.
Better get ready then.
Can't rule it out. I also want to say as well to 1983, Jamie, I've dropped you an email back, mate. I emailed you earlier on today, so just check your inbox and you should have an email from me, mate. If not, obviously just give us a shout or put something in the comments after the show. But yeah, you should have an email by now. Right, so the couple of questions that I wanted to go to, and Lisa, our resident spanner, Lisa, she said we've got to ask this question. It's always very important when you're on, Dan. Who's the bigger club, Wolves or Sunderland?
Well, Wolves are bigger than Sunderland and Newcastle, so you guys are bigger than Sunderland, and we're bigger than you. So you might have a bigger stadium and we're similar. One city club, decent history, but if you look at the overall league honours, I don't think there's much in it, is there? Maybe I've got more than this. I might be just sounding stupid now.
I think it is. I think it is similar. We're the 9th most successful club in the country, and I'm sure Wolves are near it. I'm sure
I think we've won more first divisions than you, and that's the most important one, isn't it?
Well,
so there you go. We'll leave it at that.
FA Cups are in there. We've won a few.
Yeah, we got 6.
Yeah, I think we're on 4 FA Cups, 5
Only
FA
4?
Cups, but we've won 3 first division titles. I think you've only won 1.
Yes, I think it is 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was probably during what's it called, like the Spanish flu era or something, wasn't it?
It was a while ago. We'll leave it there. It was a while ago.
We still haven't won a major domestic trophy since before I was born. The last trophy we won was what's now the Papa John's Trophy in 1987. So, we both need a trophy in our cabinets before we die.
Well, the last trophy we won was 1969, which was the Fairs Cup, and the last domestic trophy we won was 1955. But that's all going to change this season, Dan.
I think so. I'm backing you.
We were talking about it.
I really want you to play Tottenham in the final because everyone said,
mate.
that's like the desperation cup, isn't it? For
I'd love
both teams needing a trophy, but I'd love Tottenham to lose it in the final.
Yeah, a lot of Newcastle fans that I've spoke to said they'd prefer to play Liverpool in the final.
I mentioned this to Chris earlier. I think Liverpool's objectives are way above the Carabao Cup. I don't think he would put as strong a lineup in the final as I think the Premier League and the Champions League is within Arne Slot's eyesight this summer. And I think I just think the fact that you lost to Man United when you did, and this is like your first return to Wembley since, I don't see how you can lose yet another cup final. I think it's your year. I think Arsenal aren't scoring more than 1 goal at St James's Park in the second leg. You're already through in my eyes. It's yours to throw away this trophy is now.
I hope so, mate. I hope so.
I'd always back us, particularly the way we're playing at the moment. If we were lucky enough to get to a final, I'd always back us against any team any of the current teams that are in there. In particular, Tottenham and Liverpool, I'd back us against both of them in the final.
We've got the situation with Wolves now, and we had it when we was in the Championship for so many years. I think we lost in the playoff semi-final in the Championship 3 years in the 90s. I think once you can skip that semi-final hurdle, I think when next time Wolves get to an FA Cup an FA Cup final, we'll win it whoever we play. Because I think that monkey off the back will be gone, because I think we've lost something like 5 or 6 FA Cup semi-finals since we last won the trophy. I think we're as a club, it's just like getting that monkey off your back of going past that hurdle. And I think the fact that you lost to Man United last time, I don't see how you lose the final this year.
I hope you're right, mate. I really do hope you're right.
Absolutely. Oh.
And before we go to predictions, just want to ask you this last one. And I think I know the answer to this one already, Dan. Tom Dixon asked you, do you think Wolves are staying up in the Premier League this season?
Yeah, I think there'll be 3 worse teams. I think we've got so much better attacking third players than the teams below us, and even if you include Everton and Crystal Palace in that, I think obviously Eberiche, Eze and Mateta are quite strong, but I think our final third players are better than the teams that I've just mentioned. And I think the only way that we go down is if Liam Delap has an absolute stormer for Ipswich.
He's a hell of a player, isn't he?
He'll be gone into the season from Ipswich. He needs to be in the top half.
I see you guys finishing above Everton.
It all depends on the boys' manager bench, doesn't it? That's the only thing I can say. You look at Everton's squad; it's still really poor.
Yeah. This is the thing. They're only scored 15 goals this season. Yes, Moyes is a different manager, a different approach, but he has his limitations. He has his style that's not too dissimilar to Sean Dyche anyway, in the way in which he sets up. We know, because Lloyd used to bang on about it when he was the manager at West Ham every week. of how we'd
And
set up. But
he's got no Marouane Fellaini either, so he's right up the creek.
yeah, there you go. There you go. So I'm not ruling it out. And I think if you're finishing above, if you're finishing above Leicester and Everton, which I think you will, yeah, I think you'll be comfortable. So yeah, hopefully good news all round for both clubs.
Yeah.
And I like Wolves. I like Wolves. Wolves is the kind of club when you look at Premier League clubs. A few people have done it where you look at who would be your 20 Premier League clubs if you had a choice. Any leagues, who would be your 20 clubs? Like Wolves would always be in mind.
It's such an unsavoury conversation topic, that, Pete, because for me the likes of Crystal Palace, I'm just straight out the flipping door. If you're going to have the elite 20 teams in English football, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, and Brighton are not in this Premier League. That's my opinion. I'll stand by it.
No. I think it's definitely one to do down the line and have it out with some of the fan channels as well. Be a good chat. Be a good chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So boys, it's time we get to some predictions. And Pete, I'm going to come to you first, mate. So what do you think the score is going to be come the evening tomorrow?
I'm going to stick to my original suggestion. I said it yesterday. I think on Race for Europe, I'm going to stick with it again. I think both teams will score, but I think our attacking line may well just be the difference. So I'm going to go Newcastle to win 3-1. That's what I'm going for.
3-1. And Dan, what about yourself? What are you thinking for the match tomorrow?
I said about 10 minutes ago, I think it'll be over 2.5 goals. So I'm going with 2-2.
2-2. Oh, Desmond. Yeah. Which would be a great result for yourselves, wouldn't it? Because,
it's all about getting points on the board now. The amount of games that we, I don't know about your opinion, Guy. I don't think you deserve to beat us at Molyneux earlier on in the season. It was just two absolute, Harvey Barnes is a sensational effort. Fabian Shaw pings one that our defender deflects into the top corner. But I thought a draw was probably the fair result over the 90 minutes on that day. And that's where Gary went wrong to a lot of degrees, that we weren't picking up anywhere near enough points. We got beat by Liverpool 2-1. We got beat by Man City 2-1. And we just didn't get enough draws. And when you're getting beat more often than not, you've got to be sacked in the end. I think he did a good job for his capabilities, but in hindsight, we probably should have sacked him like Bournemouth did when they took. Everyone said Bournemouth was harsh to sack Gary O'Neill, but I think that was pretty much where his ceiling was. And obviously, Iriola's doing an outstanding job at Bournemouth now.
100%, definitely.
Yeah.
Chris, what are you going for, fella?
Mate, I'm going for exactly the same as you. I fancy 3-1. I really did. I think both teams will score, and I do agree with Dan. I think it'll be over 2.5, but I think that it will finish 3-1. Just a good feeling.
What happened in the West Ham game with you guys? What happened on the night for you to lose to West Ham 2-0? Because that's the only sort of positives I'm trying to take from tomorrow, is that you are beatable at St James's Park.
Well, what I'll say is that we could have and probably should have been 2, maybe 3-0 up in the first few minutes. Isak had a goal ruled out that was very, very close. We had a couple of other chances. Willock, Gordon, Isak, they all had good, but pretty much clear-cut chances to score, and we didn't. And then their first attack created their first corner, and they scored from it. And then that just completely shifted the momentum, and we just couldn't get it back. We pushed in the first half, couldn't get that goal back. And in the second, we thought, right, we're gonna go out and go for it, and we just didn't. We just didn't turn up. It was a really weird game. One that I'm still annoyed about now, because I haven't seen us play like that. We were so good, and then the goal just completely changed our mentality. But I think, being honest, Dan, I think there's so much more control about our game now. We're in a completely different moment now. Even before that West Ham game where we won 3 in a row, we're in a completely different moment to that now. Like the way we're playing right now is so controlled. I hope with the gap between Arsenal playing a completely different side against Bromley isn't going to alter that change too much, that we're able to kick back into gear again. Because look, if we've got aspirations of finishing in Europe, fingers crossed, even the Champions League, we've got to turn up and we've got to kick back into gear. And yeah, being honest, we have to win these games. We do. When we're at home, we have to win.
Yeah, that's it. That's aspirations. I said this to Dave and Dor and Des in our 12-man WhatsApp, that if you are serious of being top 4, or as I was directing it to Forest, if you are serious about a title race, you need to be coming to Molineux and winning. And they did that. And I think if they can keep their spine fit, Forest, I think they're well within their rights to push Liverpool all the way this season. And Spunky Monkey, who said I was one of the best and not the best, I'm absolutely fuming with that.
That was the comment there. Spunky Monkey.
We know the truth, Dan. We know the truth, fella.
The goat.
It's been a pleasure, mate.
The goat. Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Have a good look for the rest of the season, apart from tomorrow night. And as always, I'm privileged and honoured you always invite me onto your show. And thanks to everyone who's tuned in. And if you hate Sunderland, press the like button. If you think Newcastle's going to win tomorrow, press the like button. If you think I'm the best guest ever on the show, press the like button. And if you hate West Bromwich Albion, press the fucking like button. Up the
wall. Hey, you've just given the whole, everyone else that's watching, 5 different excuses there to click the like button. You got to do it. You got to do it for all of those reasons. Love it.
Good night, guys. Take care of yourselves.
Dan, just before you go, mate, I really, really enjoyed you dancing earlier. Really, really enjoyed it. So in the green room, I want to see you dancing to this, mate, okay?
I remember moaning the last couple of episodes that I still haven't made your intro video and there's another Wolves fan in it. So Shocks in the background needs to fix that as well. Otherwise, I'm going to go and join the Scott Sellers podcast or whatever the other Newcastle channel is out there.
Shots have been fired, that is for sure.
Yeah.
Daz will be watching that. He'll be watching. Don't worry about that.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And Dan, I'm looking forward to seeing this, mate. Hope it doesn't give you nightmares.
Sir.